everyone, this is Troy from Golden Pennies Prospecting. Just coming to you from a little spot out along the river here in Idaho, and just wanted to share some of my experience out here. I'm going to flip my camera around and give you a tiny look at where I am currently at. Nice little spot along the river here. This area is known for a lot of flood gold, very fine flood gold, and I may do some prospecting for that. I see there's a lot of mica in the water here. A lot of new people will come up along a spot like this and see that sparkling down on top of the sand. You see all that and think, oh my goodness, this place is loaded with gold. Well, that's just mica. You'll never find gold sitting on top of tan sand. But there is some work that's been done up along the bank here, I think, that might be worth checking out, possibly metal detecting. So I think the first thing I'll do is get my metal detector out and give that a try. There's been some work done here recently on the roads, or on the roadway or trail, whatever you want to call it here. Been dug up a little bit, so we're going to kind of work some of this since, you know, the ground's already turned up for us. Might as well. Got my Gold Monster Minelab 1000 dialed in. I am actually going to set this thing to deep, and we are nice and ground balanced. We'll get it ground balanced since I stopped here for a second. Work the area a little bit here. Alright, we're getting a little bit of a signal right here. Looking at the I think we'll give this a little look. Well, it seems like we are getting close to whatever it is here. Well, we found it. It is a piece of lead. It's the second piece of lead I've dug up in this little area. I'm probably going to dig a lot of lead here as the time goes on. Still working up along the hill here. I'm getting a little bit of signal in here. It wants to go far left. Then it wants to go right. Right, so it's going left, and I'm going to think, you know, trash, but since we know there's gold in this area, we're going to go ahead and dig this one up. Just to show how sensitive this thing is, I've gone through and just taken a little bit of a scoop off the top, and we narrowed it down. Whatever it is definitely in there, if we can pull it out. If you look real close. Oh yeah. If we look real closely here, it's making all that noise. Right in there. Little piece of lead, that little silver piece. That is what's making all the noise. So far, I dug up a couple of pieces of lead, several little flakes of lead actually, and maybe a casing or a jacket off a bullet. But I see here that they've been doing some, I don't know, moving of rocks and so on in the area for land development purposes or whatever, and it's exposed some new ground that I don't see even any footprints in here, so I feel very compelled to detect in this a little bit. Looks like a backhoe made a little bit of a scrape in here, dug for us. And we're getting a little bit of signal right there. Pulling far right. Looks like it's right there. Go across to see exactly where. Right about where that rock is right there is where we're going to give it a look. Let's get that little scoop here. My green scooper broke, so I'm just using this cheesy little grain scooper. what we get here. So far, nothing. Oh, hello. Oh, and I can see it right now. There she is. Yeah, it was right. Definitely non-ferrous, but not gold. Just to give an example of how sensitive this is, I've got this in the most sensitive setting, and I can't run it in this setting the whole time in this area because it makes too much noise, but much of the area I can, as long as it's ground balanced, which it is. I'm going to run this across this bag and ask you to take a look at that. Now I'm getting left and I'm getting right, both. And I'll turn sideways here, and now it's just getting barely a sound. Can dial it in. But the point here is that little bag is a test pan bag from the Crow Creek mine in Alaska. And I know from visiting there, when you pay admission, they give you a little test bag, and you can pan it out to make sure you know how to pan gold. And there's probably 4 little teeny flat flakes in that bag right there. But this metal detector is sensitive enough to pick that up. But you just have to recognize that even though I know for certain there's gold in that bag, I'm also seeing it pulled to the left, which tells me ferrous metal. And it could be partly the ground, could be the rock that's mixed in that bag. But don't discard something because you get a left indication. If it shows you anything to the right especially, go ahead and dig it. This video is just a quick little demonstration of the Minelab Gold Monster 1000 from my friend Ciso in Puerto Rico. He just recently bought one after seeing me use mine in Puerto Rico and finding some nice little pickers. So I'm going to just kind of go over the basics and show how sensitive this thing can be. Alright, I'll first say I'm not the expert on this. I'm learning. If you want to really get some great videos on how to use this thing, go to YouTube and look up Bill Southern. He has a bunch of great videos on this. In fact, that's who I bought this from. But here we go. We're going to go ahead and put this up in the air, and I'm going to turn it on. I'm letting it balance to any electromagnetic signals that might be in the air. I've got it right now turned to what would be the most sensitive setting. If I turn it up just one, that's going to discriminate a little bit, and it won't bug me so much if the ground's very noisy. But before I do that, I'm going to go back to that most sensitive setting, and I'm going to ground balance this. Ground balancing is just basically pumping the end of your coil in various areas until you hear the sound quiet down. Okay, so now I hit some probably metal there or something. Okay, so we're ground balanced. I've got this set in deep mode, which means it's going to pick up iron, and that's okay for now. I wanted to show you now this bag right here. This is some demonstration gold that I got at Crow Creek Mine in Alaska. If you go there, that's near Anchorage, they'll give you, when you register, this bag that has a couple of small flakes in it mixed in with gravel so you can practice panning. And I'm just going to swing over the top of that. And you see how I'm getting a far left, but I'm also getting a right. Now there could be something in the ground, but I'm getting a pretty good indication here, and I'm not going to rule that out since I know, of course, there's gold in there. But I just want to show you that just because it swings left doesn't mean you shouldn't dig it. When you listen to it, it's definitely telling us something. I like to swing one direction, then go 90 degrees and swing the other direction. If I was going over bedrock, that's what I would be doing. Now I'm using the bigger coil. Really, probably going over bedrock, you'd use a smaller coil because you can get in tighter. But let's go ahead and pause this, and I'm going to pan this gold out real quick and show you just how small these pieces are. Just emptied that plastic bag out, and we're going to put it in some water, shake, 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 shake. Ordinarily I'd shake a whole bunch. I'd have more material in here, but I'm shaking this to make sure that every piece in there that was dry is now wet. You don't want any air causing anything to float out of there, first off. All right. Secondly, we're causing the vibration causes the gold to move toward the bottom, and I'm rocking the pan back and forward and back and forward, and I'm just trying to get the heavy material, the gold, to settle in the leading edge of that bottom crescent piece, and that's where I want that to be. So now that it's there, or I believe it's there, I'm going to go ahead and just pan this ever so carefully. Going in a circular motion, the edge of my pan is basically parallel to the water, and it's kind of in the water. I'm not really pulling it out of the water. I'm letting the water carefully wash in a circular fashion, and I'm watching what's leaving the pan, because sometimes gold will work its way up and you won't realize it. Now look at that. See it appearing there already. Get that out of there. That looks like some really nice gold, right? It is. You know, if you found that in the natural environment, you'd be pretty excited. Now look how little the amount of black sand is left in there, and you would think, oh, there's nothing here. Darn, I got nothing. But as we clean that off a little bit, and when I get to this level, I'm basically just letting the water come up and just ever so slightly kissing that black sand. When I start to see the gold appear, I kind of get chicken usually, and I call it good. We'll put some water in that pan, and we'll swing that around. Okay, 4 pieces. Again, these are pounded flat probably or whatever. Pretty good sized pieces of gold. If I found these out here, I'd be pretty happy. But I just want you to see these to realize that is the size. In fact, one of these little pieces would cause that Gold Monster 1000 to give you an indication. Just one, depending on the orientation and how deep it was in the soil and so on. But I've found many, many pieces of lead that were that size and smaller that just caused my Gold Monster just to light up. So that gives you an idea of how sensitive it is. And if you're working especially in bedrock, working along the cracks and that sort of thing, it's going to tell you if there's something in there. All right, now after panning that gold, I put it back in the bag, mixed it in with some of the local sand here, and let's just take a look at this. It's going right, it's going left. You might be tempted to say, oh, that's garbage, but with this baby, you definitely want to check it out. Now, if I raise it to shallow mode, because I know it's shallow, I'm getting the same thing. It's continuing to make sound. It's telling me, hey, you should check that out. Might be something. And in this case, we know it's 4 little tiny flakes of gold. So these are some of the tailings piles from that hole that I dug. And just using my metal detector here to make sure I didn't throw any big nuggets out. And it's saying to me, I really should get in there and check. Now that's very intriguing to me, because this, especially this pile here, this came from deep down. This was not where I might have found a shell casing, so don't imagine it's going to be something unnatural. And it's very, very strongly telling me that this is non-ferrous that's in here. That's possible. There's something underneath this pile I didn't metal detect first to make sure there wasn't a tin can buried underneath or something, but I'm going to check it out. What I'm basically going to do is I'm going to scoop up a little bit of this material, and I'm going to run it over and see if I hear any sounds. I'm not going to toss it too far, because sometimes you'll miss it, and I sure as heck don't want to toss it in the river and then nothing ever lights up and indicates that it was the culprit, and then I wonder, hey, did I throw a gold chunk in the river? Okay, a little sound there, but nothing that really explains that strong beep I was getting. Ah, son of a gun. Even though I dug down deep, that's probably my culprit right there. Didn't see it in my gold pan when I was panning. Got caught in the classifier. But that could easily been a piece of gold. So that's probably the culprit, but we'll go back over this again and double check. Just to show you what it sounds like. That tells me it's in there, and of course it is. Of course, you'd never want to assume just because you found a piece of lead or a bullet that you got the all of the non-ferrous stuff in here. And I'm swinging back over that same pile. There's definitely something lighting up there. So we'll give this a shot again. We're going to work this until we get all those signals out of there. I sure as heck would hate to have thrown out a big old piece of gold because it was too big to fit through my classifier screen. probably this is one of the culprits. That's what we call a hot rock. Just a very deeply mineralized rock that confuses the machine. But again, we'll set this aside and make sure it's not the only thing in here. Well, this is why I should have run this ground, ran the detector over this ground before I put my pile here, because this is not coming from my pile. That's going to be a lead bullet, a tin can, maybe a casing, or a piece of gold. I'll go get the pick and move some dirt around. Okay, we found the culprit. It was not in my tailings pile. It was just in the sand below. And there it is, a little piece of lead, but listen to it. Now you imagine that little piece of lead could easily have been a piece of gold that made it through my classifier and into my tailings pile. So this is why you always want to check. If you have a metal detector, great, run it over your tailings pile, especially in an area like this where you could have some bigger pieces. Just trash. I hope you found a little value in this video in terms of giving you a sense of what the Minelab can do, both on dry land as well as pairing with your gold prospecting work. I would encourage you to go to Nugget Shooter Journals on YouTube. Bill Southern has a bunch of really great videos on how to use this machine. That's a great place to go if you're looking at buying one of these or you have one. And with that being said, I'll just say thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe and get out there and see if you can't find yourself some treasure.